Do you know the anime manga series Dr. Stone? Imagine waking up after a 3,700-year nap to find humanity has turned to stone. Literally. That's Dr. Stone in a nutshell. It's a fun thought experiment how civilization can be rebuilt from scratch. Now, before we get started, let me set the scene. Here we have three characters: Magma, the big guy, and Kuromu, the science whiz, and Gain are trying to sneak into the enemy's camp to deliver a radio to the embedded spies. Unfortunately, an archer spy has spotted them and is shooting at them. They need a distraction so that Gain can go back to their camp. Now, Magma, the big guy, who thinks with his muscles instead of his brain, has a plan. Here he explains what that cunning plan is.
まずクロム、てめえが飛び出る。俺が続く。だだ。お、そっからどうする？ビスビスビス。あそこから撃ってんな。むはは、見つけたぜ。スマーシュ。おー、なるほどな。じゃねえ、俺が死ぬじゃねえか。んだよ。自分が死ぬから嫌だとか、てめえのことしか考えてねえじゃねえか。勝手な野郎だな。どっちがだ。
Okay, did you understand? Don't worry, we'll go through every line word by word. And just to remind you, Magma, the big guy, is telling his plan. He's explaining. So what's being shown here is his imagination about what will occur if his plan goes according to plan, if his plan works. In manga, remember, you go from top to bottom, right to left. So let's start with the first section and look at the vocabulary words. Mazu. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a 10-10 right there. That means it's that's not masu, but mazu. Mazu. Mazu means first of all, number one. Let's start with this. Mazu. And then he says his friend's name, Kuromu, which is probably the same word for chrome in English, I guess. Kuromu. Teme. Teme is a very rude pronoun. Pronouns in Japanese is very interesting. There are so many of them. Think about it. For just the first person pronoun, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but watashi, atashi, washi, washi toka, seisha. That's a samurai pronoun. There's so many of these pronouns out there, and yet, Japanese don't use pronouns much at all. In fact, that's a mistake that a lot of beginners make. If you use pronouns too much, it can sound unnatural, and in some cases actually be a little rude. If you constantly say anata, 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 it can actually come across as rude. If it's understood in the context, drop the pronoun. Now, there are times, of course, where you want to emphasize. You can say, I can do that. Well, okay, you say watashi. But for the most part, you should drop your pronouns. But anyway, here he's saying teme. Teme is very rude. It's kind of a strong pronoun for you. He's very strong, so he says ore in teme. So he's kind of rough, but he's also strong and masculine. So he's saying this to Kuromu. Teme ga. So mazu first, Kuromu, chrome. You. Ga would be the subject marker for that phrase. It marks the teme as the subject of the verb here. Now this next verb, tobideru, is a compound verb. There's a lot of compound verbs in Japanese, and tobu means to fly or to jump. So here it means to jump out, rush out, without thought, just jump out. And deru means to go out. So it's not just to run, but it's to run out, it's just to rush out. And all this is kind of explained with just these two words that are put together. So first of all, chrome. You dash out. And then he says, ore ga tsuzuku. I will follow. Tsuzuku means to continue, right? But it's also to follow in this case. I'm right behind you. So you say, this is what I want you to do. You rush out and I will follow. And this da-da, da-da-da is the effect of the feet hitting the ground. Boom, 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 da, 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 da. Oh is an exclamation a show of surprise or interest. His eyes, look at his eyes are kind of wide. He's actually thinking like, oh, this sounds like a good plan. And then he says, sokkara, sokkara, sokkara. This is a small tsu here. This is really sokokara, sokokara. But in spoken Japanese, you can abbreviate, so it becomes sokkara do suru, do suru, do what, how, what do you do? From there, soko means there, kara from, do suru. Soko kara do suru, soko kara do suru. What are you going to do from there? So I get it. You want me to rush out and you'll follow. That's great. That sounds exciting. So after that, what happens? Bisu, bisu, bisu. That's the effect of the arrows going bis, 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 and sticking right into him, and of course killing him instantly. But Magma is very excited. Look at him smiling and everything. At that point, he goes to explain. Asoko kara. From there, this is what happens. Let me explain my plan, my cunning plan. It has such a brilliant plan. Asoko kara. From there, utenna. This is a colloquial version of utsu. Utsu means to shoot, so whether it's a gun or in this case, a bow, an arrow. In the te form, he has a very kind of casual way of speaking. From there, they will shoot the arrows. Muhaha! And he's excited. He's caught up in the brilliance of his own plan. Mitsuketa ze. Mitsuketa means I found you. I found it. I discovered it. So the problem is, I kind of forgot to mention this, but the archer's there, but they don't know exactly where the archer is. I guess that was kind of important to mention at the beginning. So his plan is how to get Gain out of there. But the big question is, where is the archer so they can stop the archer from shooting and Gain can escape? So from there, he'll shoot. Then I will know where he is. Mitsukeru means to find. Mitsuketa is I found, past tense. And the ze is a casual masculine ender used for emphasis or to show confidence. And then we get down to the next scene. And this is where, again, this is all in his mind. This is his plan. His plan is so perfect. This is how it's going to happen. Smash! One thing I like about this manga is every time there's a difference in emotions or the change in the scene, the art style changes too. It's pretty neat. So anyway, so his plan, if it goes according to plan, they'll both rush out with his friend going first. Then his friend gets hit by the arrows, and but that will show Magma where the archer is, and then Magma can find the archer and boom, get him. And then his friend says, "Oh," which is a sign of awe, like, "Oh, what a great plan. I can see how it would work. You would be able to find that archer and smash him because you're so strong." Naruhodo na. Naruhodo means I see, I get it. It's an expression that's used to show acknowledgement or comprehension, like, oh, I get what you're saying. That makes sense. And then on the next page, he realizes that he would actually have to die for this plan to succeed. Janai. Janai is slang for janai. That's not what I mean. Janakute. Not that. Like, wait a second. Hold on. Wait a second. Ore ga shinu. I will die. Janai ka. Won't I? Janai desu ka would be more, polite, I guess. I would have to die for this to work, right? It's a small detail that Magma is like, I don't understand why you have a big problem with this. It's a small detail. And here's what Magma says. Ndayo. It's short for nandayo. What's with that? What's with that? Which shows a kind of a annoyance or surprise about what he's saying. Like, I can't believe you just said that. Jibun ga shinu kara yara toka. Are you saying toka? Let's start here. Toka, it shows there are other reasons similar to this for why you're showing some disgust. So Magma is like, why are you so upset? Ndayo. Why are you so upset? Is it because とか、自分が死ぬからやだ。Are you upset because you don't want to die? Well, of course, but that's what Magma is all, his face is all surprised. Like, are you upset because you don't want to die? And then he explains why that's bad thinking. てめえのことしか考えてねえじゃねえか. Normally this would be like じゃないですか or something like that, but he's more slangy, so he's also very masculine. So he's using teme, which is the very rude. We saw that pronoun before. Don't use it. But teme no koto shika kangaete ne. You're only thinking of yourself. Now let's look at this very quickly. Teme no koto, about you. Shika, only. And shika is used with the negative verb. So kangaete ne would be the negative of kangaeru. Shika kangaete ne. Only thinking about. About no koto would be about. Teme. Teme no koto shika kangaete ne. I want to say something very quickly about this. He could just say teme shika. Only you. But nokoto is more like about the holistic, everything about you. So you're all about you. It's the difference between, for example, I like you, anata ga suki, and I like everything about you, anata no koto ga suki, or about you, I like. You know, it's more holistic. It's not just about one thing or just you, but it's everything about you. So here he's saying, everything about you is all that you're thinking about. Teme no koto, about you, shika kangaete ne, only thinking about. You're only thinking about you. Now let's look at the janei ka. Natural Japanese, janai desu ka, or something like that. But janei ka is aren't you, isn't it? So he's even though it sounds kind of weird, it's saying kangaete ne and then janei ka. It sounds like, is this a double negative or triple negative or what's going on here? Well, first of all, it's negative because of shika. Shika uses a negative verb, kangaete ne, only thinking about you. Janei ka, aren't you? Aren't you only thinking about yourself? Aren't you being selfish? You're refusing just because you might die? You're only thinking about yourself, aren't you? Kate, selfish. And the na connects the selfish with yaro. Yaro is kind of a rude way to say, what a selfish jerk. And na is just kind of for emphatic or emotion. And then he replies, dochi here is him or magma. Dochiga, the missing word here is selfish. Kate. Dochiga, which one of us is selfish? And they're shouting because the plan was for him to die. So he's very excited. But of course, the archer is still out there. So the other guy, Gain, who's wanting, if this plan succeeds, will run away. He's saying, shh, Shizukai, be quiet. Just to reiterate, the Magma's plan is, first, I want you to run out, and I will follow. Kuromu is very excited. He's like, oh, this sounds good. Okay, and what do you do from there? And he says, at that point, he will fire. And then he laughs because he's caught up in his own plan and the genius of his own plans. And I found him because I can see where the arrows are coming from. And he smashes him. Then his friend is excited and says, oh, I get it. I understand where you're coming from this. And then he realizes, wait a second. I'll die, won't I? And then Magma says, what? You're refusing just because you might die? You're only thinking of yourself, aren't you? You selfish jerk. Which of us is being selfish? Be quiet. Okay, this was just a quick look at a short scene, but I hope you found that interesting. It's a fun series. I've only seen a few of the anime, but the anime seems to be pretty close to the manga. I hope you enjoy it. Check it out, and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions.
まずクロム、てめえが飛び出る。俺が続く。だだ。を そっからどうする？ビスビスビス。あそこから撃ってんな。むはは、見つけたぜ。スマッシュ。おー、なるほどな。じゃねえ、俺が死ぬじゃねえか。んだよ、自分が死ぬから嫌だとか、てめえのことしか考えてねえじゃねえか。勝手な野郎だな。どっちがだ。し、し。チャンネル登録してね。